All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the BBQ Round Table. I'm your host, Jason Hardy with Elite Barbecue Smokers. And wait a minute, we're having some trouble here. All right, let's move that one. I think we're still live on everything else, but the other one's here. We lost one broadcast. I think Instagram we're not on. Yeah, thank y'all for stopping in today. This is again, I'm Jason Harvey, Elite Barbecue Smokers. Got some really great guests today we're talking with. Again, this is another one of our Team of the Year series. I'm letting them introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of get into the Q&A part of it. Robert and Lex, y'all introduce yourself.
You want to go first? I'll go first.
You introduce
I'm Lex Vanderipe with my husband Robert Vanderipe. Together, we're Smoky Silly. We've been competing for 10 years, and we're out of Madison, Alabama, right outside of Huntsville.
Cool. Matt, how about you?
Well, I'm Matt Barber. I'm owner of Hot Wachulas. We make gourmet sauces and stuff, and I'm based out of Central Florida, Bartow/Haines City. I've probably been competing. I think my first contest was around 2009, and I've been going broke ever since.
I tell you, probably about the only person that may have been doing it longer than I have that I've talked to much on this little series here. We've been doing this since probably, I think, 2010, 2009, but it's crazy how many contests we've done over the years.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about it. When I first started, I would just do like 2 or 3 a year, and that was about it. I mean, I wasn't. I mean, I just did it to try and sell sauces. So if I got one call, I was tickled. But it wasn't probably till 2011, 2012 where I kind of started hitting it a little bit harder.
So that kind of leads into a good question here as far as that, because like I said, you've got a business where you sell sauces. So give us a little background story of how you got into barbecue.
Well, my day job back in the day, I was an art director for public supermarkets. So I kind of designed packaging and point of purchase material and print ads and stuff. So at that point, I was married to someone that did the exact same type of work in the same department. So when we kind of had our falling out, it was just, like, I'm going to do something different. I need to get the hell out of this place. So, and I was one of those guys that had a sauce and a salsa, and then everybody said, hey, you should get it made, you should bottle it, you should do this. And I was like, well, I'm young enough I can recover if I fail miserably. So I just kind of left the corporate gig and started my own business. But I didn't start cooking. Actually, I think I sponsored a team about 2005, 2006. And I was giving them sauces and stuff. And they did pretty well. I mean, they mainly did Florida, but they did travel to like Georgia and South Carolina. But then Johnny Trigg and Pellet Envy did a class in Lakeland. I think it might have been a couple of weeks before Pig Fest one year. And after that class, they took it. So after that class, they came back and they're like, we're not going to use your stuff anymore. We're going to use, Blues Hoghead Country and all this stuff that they taught in the class. It's like, but we still need money to compete. Can you just give us money instead? I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm like, I can't do that. He's like, well, your stuff won't win. And I'm like, okay. They threw it out there. So I'm like, I'm gonna start cooking myself. And my only goal is to kick your ass and be one spot ahead of you at any contest I'm at. So, and that's kind of where it started. It was just kind of I'm gonna show them, that my stuff can do good. And I just kind of worked up to it, and I started beating them, and they started getting ticked off. And eventually, he came and took my class about 3 years ago, and which was kind of fun. I mean, I ended up not charging him anything, but just the fact that he was there, that was kind of cool. I did rub it in a bit, so. But it was a good proving ground, just to develop flavors and, put some kind of street cred behind the products that you make.
Yeah, I mean, it's for people that don't know that, going into them rubs and stuff here, there's a lot of testing. There's a lot of playing around to get something that you want to give out there and give to the public.
Yeah. Well, if you're competing for a store spot, or on a website, and you got, somebody nobody's ever heard of, and then you got somebody that's, KCBS Team of the Year, GBA or GBC or FBA, that you're fighting for a shelf spot with, more than likely the team that has the most awards is going to get looked at a little bit more serious than somebody that hasn't won anything. So it definitely helps.
Yeah, it's definitely that. Robert, Lex, how'd y'all get into barbecue competitions or barbecue in general?
Well, back in 2011, we have a contest here in Huntsville, Alabama called the Whistle Stop. It's been going on for years, several years before we even started. Well, a lot of the local companies in the area, there's a lot of government contracting companies in Huntsville. And I worked for one of those, and they entered a team in the backyard, or they called it the Shade Tree Division. You just cook chicken and ribs. And they'd asked, hey, could you come help us out? Meaning, could you come take care of the trash and sort of clean up? Because they already had the two guys they were going to cook. And at the last minute, one of the guys that was supposed to cook chicken bailed out. So they said, hey, could you cook chicken? And I said, I guess. And I wouldn't call myself much of a barbecue cook back then. But what little information there was on the internet, I scoured it. Barbecue Central radio show was going on then. He was doing round tables. I listened to all those shows and went ahead and did chicken for that contest. Did horrible. But I'll tell you what, we had so much fun, and I was just addicted to it at that point. And I said, you know what? I want to try this again. I know I can do better. And that's sort of how we got started, or into that pre-planning stage of Smoke Me Silly.
Yeah, during that contest, I was just kind of sitting there hanging out, having a good time. I didn't realize I was going to actually have to work.
Yeah, that's how we get everybody into the ball game right
I
here.
know, right? Come hang out.
Come hang out. Oh, while you here, do this. While you here, do that.
Yeah. Build a box. What?
Oh, was that what started your box building career? Was that the contest that started your box building career?
No, it was the next contest, because that one, the Shade Tree here in Whistle Stop, they have no garnish.
No garnish,
You can't garnish.
Or it was
box,
at the time,
yeah.
anyway.
But the next contest, he gave me YouTube videos to watch. It was wonderful.
Yeah. So that was about 2011 and 12, you said? So we're at neighborhood?
Yeah, that was early 2011. So the contest was normally always in May. And then after many, many more videos and radio shows, we did our first our first official KCBS backyard here in Decatur, Alabama, that September timeframe. That Smoke Me Silly. That was our first contest at Smoke Me Silly.
So kind of going to the next question, since you brought that up right a little bit. Explain how you got the name Smoke Me Silly.
We were actually sitting here on the porch and just spitballing names. I can't remember all the names that we were trying to think of.
Meat with Feet, Cattywampus Q. Those are the ones that stuck out in my mind. So.
But I remember growing up, I can't remember who it was, somebody that was definitely older in my family, when we were little kids, saying that they would slap us silly, right? So that's sort of how I came up with it. How about Smoke Me Silly? I don't know if it was just something, that phrase was in my mind from all those years ago, but that's what we wound up settling on anyway.
That's cool. That's a cool name. It's a cool logo y'all got.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And we've also, one of the other ones that we were thinking about was Meat with Feet. And we've actually used that team name when we did some GBA contests there in Georgia.
Oh, okay. Meat with Feet. That's a little bit more different. That's a different one.
It is.
That would be a different one there. Matt, will you finally put this story to bed about how you get a name with Hot Wachulas? I've heard 4 different versions of the story.
Really? Well, I can tell you the first name I cooked under was Killer Rex.
Killer Rex.
I think I used that at Dillard and maybe in Lakeland. Because I wasn't sure how good or bad I was going to do. I didn't want, didn't want to affect my brand if I came in last place all the time. So I wanted to start off with a different name. But actually, Hot Wachulas is my business name. So, and when I started my business, I just started off making salsas. And then it kind of gradually got into barbecue sauces and hot sauces and some other stuff. And so I was just cracking my skull trying to think of names. This was like before internet stuff. So, anytime I tried to trademark anything, it was costing like $1,500, because the lawyer had to go through their special website that nobody else could get to. And so, I went through, one name was like Fire Dog. One name was, one was Salsaholics, but then that kind of pigeonholed my business just to salsas. But I was actually at an Irish bar here in Lakeland, and just for some reason, there's a town in Wachula. It's about 30 minutes south of here. It's called Wachula, Florida. And it's actually named after the call of the sandhill crane. It's a Seminole Indian word. And I always thought, there's lots of weird towns, like there's Waimama, there's Wachula, there's with the Latucci. There's all kinds of weird Indian name towns down here. But I always thought that was a funny sounding name. So I was at this Irish bar, and I'm like, Wachula's kind of, it rolls. And then I'm like, okay, fuzzy Wachulas. And I'm like, okay, I could have some salty caricature guy, on the label. And I was thinking about all this, some little weird story behind it. And then I was still working at Publix. So I go to Publix, and there was a girl there, Beth. She was new. She was like an intern, I think. And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking about this name. And what do you think about Fuzzy Wachulas? And she's her first, like, sounds like, I hope I'm not going to offend anybody. She's like, it sounds like a scrotum. And I'm like, damn it. So then I was like racking my head thinking of other names. And then at some point it just popped in front of it. I'm like, okay, that kind of works. It sounds like it could be a pepper. It could be provocative, depending on how you use it. Check out her Hot Wachulas, or, and it had kind of a vague resemblance. I could, the call of a sandhill crane isn't really all that offensive. And it kind of opened my brand to do pretty much anything, that was kind of spicy. So I wasn't kind of pigeonholed in any one category. So, and then it just kind of went from there. I probably spent another year and a half trying to do my own logo, and that took forever. Doing your own design work is a hassle. Doing designs for other people is easy, but when you have to do it for yourself, it's hard for you to decide on anything. But that's kind of how it started. So it's the call of a sandhill crane, or whatever else you want to say, a Hot Wachula is. But that's kind of and it also sounded spicier than, sounded better than like Hot Lakeland or Hot Bartow, or, but it just kind of stuck. And now I'm in it for, can't change it now.
I'm going to buy you some shirt that says Fuzzy Hot Wachula. Let you get that some Fuzzy Hot Wachulas. That would be pretty cool.
Put some fuzzy on
that. Hey, do me a favor. I don't know if you've got another program running a computer with some internet, but you kind of coming in and out on us a little bit. So if you've got another program running, it might be bogging your internet down just a little bit.
Let's see. Let me check. I'm not running anything on here. Let me see. I might have to switch out for a little bit.
But so, Robert, Lex, talk to me a second about when that was your first started in competition. But what was your background before competition that got you even confident enough to go out there and try to compete one time? What was the background as far as grilling at home at a hunting club or a fishing camp or whatever?
lots of chicken practices and rib practices and internet watching and listening and just a lot of research, really. I mean, we loved cooking at home, and making really good food. But I mean, the most that we did outside was grilling steaks, really. We never really did any kind of barbecue, but when he went there and he actually did it, he loved it.
Yeah, before that contest where they invited me over there to do that, I cooked ribs or attempted to cook ribs like 5 or 6 years before that, down when we lived down in New Orleans. My son and I just saw these ribs in the case and said, let's try to cook these. We've had them at barbecue places, and we did it on a gas grill, and it did not turn out good at all. They were pretty bad. So I don't think I tried it again after that. It's just, I've always liked cooking other things in the kitchen, or like she said, grilling steaks or whatever out on the grill, but never sort of that same barbecue stuff we cook now. I don't think I ever did much of that at all.
So any backyard or even at home cook could cook barbecue. It's just learning how to do it. And really, I mean, you go on that, there's so much more stuff now out on the internet. So it's so much easier to get into. When we started, there wasn't as much, but at least there was something.
And maybe Matt, you remember it. Do you remember that website? And you may remember it, Jason. I don't know when you got started, but there was a website. Big. I don't know.
God, now y'all.
You got me?
Yeah, I got you now.
Yeah. It was a website called The Pickled Pig, and he actually had in pictures, it wasn't a video, but it was a step-by-step process on how to scrape skin on thighs and remove the bone and make these little chicken nuggets.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah,
that was
a long time ago. But I think everybody at that time.
I was actually at a contest.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
But I think everybody at that time was sort of looking at that website, and that's what they sort of went by. In fact, I think it was some of the Barbecue Brethren was another site that a lot of people sort of frequented for advice or ask questions. And I think that's where I found out about that pickled pig and learned about some other processes before all these video sites came online.
I remember a rep at an FBA contest that asked everybody at the cook's meeting, he's like, so what's this bite through skin thing? And chicken changed in FBA as soon as that, we were just cleaning up the shape and rolling it back under. We weren't trimming anything off. We weren't cutting knuckles or trimming knuckles. But once he mentioned that bite through skin, then chicken totally changed down here. So,
Wow.
but yeah, before the judges would just peel the skin off and do the deal. But yeah, that was the chicken game changer back in the day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember looking at that pickled pig site, man. He scraped everything off. Like you couldn't see any fat on that skin anymore. It was like glass. And I remember trying to do that at my first few backyard comps, and these big piles of fat, because I would unfortunately pick the fattiest skin thighs there were, and I was like, this is the most disgusting thing there is right there.
Oh yeah. Especially if it's hot out and it gets all
yeah. Oh,
it's like you get one good skin for every 4 you rip.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely an art of scraping skins. I hate it, but it's the necessary evil anymore. Got a couple questions out here. We got a Facebook user that's anonymous and saying, Robert's past your bedtime. Not sure that is. Yeah. Dean, glad to have you here watching us. Richard, appreciate it. We got here Philip Miles here. He was on the show last week right here. Want to know what kind of smokers y'all use. Robert, Lex, y'all go first with this one.
Yeah, so we use a offset stick burner. a champion for our brisket, pork, butts, and ribs. And then we started out on WSMs. We used to have 4 of them when we started pro. And we've always cooked our chicken on a WSM. And that has not changed. We have an 18-inch WSM, and that's what we cook it on.
Hey, that's good. It's been around a long time. It's done a lot of good.
It has.
A lot of contests been won on them things, which is a precursor to ugly drum smokers.
Mhm.
Probably the day of that one.
Yep.
Matt, how about you? What you cook
When
on?
I first started, I cooked on when I started, it was I cooked on one backwoods party, and I cooked everything on it. That was an ordeal, but then I went to my own kind of reverse flow cabinet style cookers, and now I cook on just straight Rectex. I cook on 2 small Rectex Stampedes. So
Now you got the Rectex to 360s, is that right? Or 380s is what you use, or is you got a different Rectex now?
I think it's the 590.
Okay,
The 590. The 590s are what I compete with.
Because you had the 380s with the extensions on it one time. The round ones.
Yeah, I put a Cajun Bandit extension on it. Yeah. I mean, I still have one on my trailer as a backup if something doesn't come off quick enough and I got to put ribs on and move something around. Or
Yeah.
So it's lit, but it rarely gets anything on it, but it's good to have just in case. But
Appreciate
yeah,
that
just
Thanksgiving.
straight Rectex pellet.
Yeah, we using them on smoke on our trailer now and loving them. This year's been crazy for us as scoring, but it ain't the smoker's fault. Appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate that. So here, Brian's brought up the question here. Like I said earlier in the show, with Team of the Year. We got champs here. Matt, so your Team of the Year in the FBA. So explain what FBA is, explain what Team of the Year, what you've done to get to that point, and kind of where everything is with that.
Well, the Florida Barbecue Association is, we used to have contests in like Florida, Georgia, Alabama. We lost a few, especially during COVID, but we've got a bunch of contests in Florida. It's a little bit different than KCBS, the fact that we don't have no garnish, and we have 8 minimum pieces in the box. And we don't drop any scores. So every judge's score counts. So if you get that one rogue guy that likes to give out 6s and 7s, sadly they stay. So those are the biggest differences, and it's all so, you know, if you know, it doesn't drop off, like it doesn't do like, you know, if you cook 30 contests, count like your best 10 or 15, they count your overall total points. So it's kind of like an Ironman contest. You pretty much have to cook all of them, you know, if you want to go after Team of the Year.
So it's not your best of, it's all or nothing.
It's all, yeah. And if there's a tie, which there was almost a tie, it was 1 point. So if there was a tie, then they would have taken all of your cumulative contest scores, all the points, and added them together. Whoever had the most would win the tiebreaker. So
wow,
it's definitely an Ironman. So I got lucky. I'm surprised Tim Malloy's not up when you're saying you should be interviewing him, because it was the last call of the last contest. So it was that if he would have won and I got reserved, we would have tied and he would have won just based on overall points. So it was. I don't think there's been one any closer than that.
Wow, that's crazy. Congratulations on that, FBA. It's really good teams there in cooking that part of the country and stuff. Y'all have a long season. Except for y'all summertime, you kind of just take a break in the heat of the summer and start back up.
Yeah, the public really doesn't like to come out and stand in hot lines in July and August and September. So, but starting January, it's like 3 months pretty much packed solid. That's when y'all are, you know, freezing your bones off. You know, we're down here cooking in 70-degree weather. So
yeah. Definitely different. Robert, Lex, so now y'all are also champs here. Y'all are part of GBC. So first off, you got to tell us the rivalry that you had from last year going into this year to make a point that y'all was wanting to beat a particular team to become team of the year in GBC. So a little bit of talking last year was going on, and y'all kind of, I'm not sure the veracity in that or the truth in that comment, but Trey was kind of giving you a hard time last year.
I don't know.
I don't think there was any rivalry with GBC with Trey and Meg at all.
No.
No, we were really happy for them for winning GBC.
No, I wasn't meaning it that way, but I was
well, we
talking
didn't,
about like going this year. Y'all was gonna make sure y'all won it this year.
yeah, well,
we might have been joking
we
around.
started off a little slow last year. We didn't compete in that many Georgias last year. In fact, we were with COVID, we were a little burnt out. We were just trying to go and compete sort of where there were contests. And we took off quite a bit during the summer.
Mhm.
In fact, we went to go visit my son in Seattle, and we had an awesome time. And I'm like, the heck with barbecue. Why are we doing this? I mean, in fact, I said to her, would you rather do something like this instead of barbecue? And I don't know what started it back up, but we started back up in that September of 21. I think we went to the Royal, and we had such a great time.
We did.
And we started to do okay. We started to get our mojo back, if you will. And I started to get that fire back in my belly. So that's sort of what got it going. Did a practice in January with like 12 judges there in the Atlanta area. Got back on track. Got a good idea what my issues were, and we just started hitting. So tried to hit as many. We were doing good at the Georgia ones we were going to. So like, I'm going to keep it rolling. So we tried to go to as many Georgia contests as we could. The only one we missed was Banjo BBQ because we were at the Jack. Otherwise, we probably would have been there.
Yeah, great contest too. But I
we
went to the Jack.
Yeah, we love that contest.
Yeah, but y'all were doing points. You and Smoke Central was kind of first and second this year, and I think y'all were again not a rivalry in the sense, but y'all were basically going kind of a back and forth each other for a little while there, and y'all were able to pull it out.
Yeah, well, Jason really came on towards the second half of the year.
Yeah.
To start out, it was actually Sweet Dixie, because you remember, Sweet Dixie won the Sippin' Swine, right? Or he got reserved. Mm-hmm. And then he came in and he won the Calhoun one, wasn't it? Yeah, the Calhoun Boogie and Blues. And he was on a roll. So I think he was leading it for a little while, or we were sort of going back and forth. And he just sort of dropped off there the second half of the year. And then that's when Jason came on. Jason was doing good at Kennesaw and then in Baxley. And I was like, oh, crap. Here comes Jason.
I mean, Jason's a good cook. I mean,
yeah,
awesome.
He definitely is.
Matter of fact, this weekend we were sitting there and we had only gotten 2 calls. I think Jason had gotten 2, maybe 3. So we were sitting there going, okay, well, we're probably not going to be top 10. And then when they got down to reserve and he said smoke, we're like, dang it, Jason got it, because he was going to lead. If he had gotten 3rd, 2nd, or 1st, he was going to bypass us. But then they said smoke miso. So we were like, yeah.
But now Derek ended up shadowing at Boss Hog, Waynesboro. He didn't cook at that one. And then in Baxley contest, he was actually organizing that contest.
That's right. That's right. You're right.
If he'd have kept going and had 2 possibly good cooks there, it could have been a whole different ballgame.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
Matt, I don't know the FBA. I know Backyard Bros around your tail pretty much throughout the year, like you said, but I didn't know y'all done the cumulative points. That would be crazy. I don't know how that would work.
Well, actually, they led most of the year, and I think going in 2 weeks before, I missed 2 contests in the year, so I was already at a handicap. So I was probably down potentially 60 points. But like 2 weeks ago, I think it was the same weekend as Papa Joe's. There was a contest in Florida, and I cooked that. And, I mean, I didn't do great. I think I was third or fourth overall. Sweet Smoke Q was first or second, and Backyard Bros was first or second. And then we had one more. Trying to think where that one was. Oh, in Perry, Florida. I won that one, so I bumped up to third. And I think Backyard Bros got into first, and then well, no, that was before that. But we were like 3 points. There was 3 teams in the top 3, and we were 3 points apart. So I was in third. I was 2 points behind Jim and Sweet Smoke, and Jim was 1 point behind Backyard Bros going into the last competition. So we were all there with our calculators, and every call we're like, okay, I got 1 point. Crap, I lost 2 points, and so yeah, it was tight. And it was basically it was tied after brisket. Backyard Bros and Wachula were dead even tied for team of the year, and it wasn't until they announced the overall that we won. So, and I got them by 1 point. So this was their last year, so I want, part of me wanted them to win or wanted us to tie, because then I could still say I was team of the year, but they would have got up for points. But it was fun. But I know he was, he's not happy with me about it. But he's a great guy. He's one of my best friends on the circuit, and it is their last year, so we're all gonna miss him. It's not gonna be the same cooking and not hearing the sirens and timelines and fireball shots.
He was definitely a life of a party at any contest he went to. I mean, it's gonna be different, not just FBA, KCBS contests and stuff. It's gonna, which I mean, I think it's going to change a lot. I don't think it's going to die by any stretch of imagination, but I do think it's changing over the years and stuff. Now, one of the things y'all were talking about here with the GBC is actually KCBS contest, Kansas City Barbecue Society contest. It's just a double sanctioned contest, whereas it's sponsored by through the association of KCBS, but it's part of the GBC and the points count for it. And I think they do the best 6. Is that right?
I think it's best 5, but they don't do
bonus points.
They don't do bonus points for the teams.
Yeah. So I mean, so that's based upon the KCBS is what normally I cook at, and a lot of us cook at. Florida's got its own little world, but it also have KCBS contests, but it's not a double sanctioned events. You either do one or the other.
Right.
Kind of like us, very similar to the SCBA in that sense, except y'all are doing brisket and chicken at a contest, which is 4 meats. And South Carolina is just 2 meats, maybe 3 meats and stuff. So
yeah, that was a big thing. We definitely, I think more people would pick more sanctioning bodies if they were Jack qualifiers or American Royal qualifiers. So that was one of the big things, that having all 4 meats represented definitely is a huge plus, for the FBA, because that helps us get qualified for some of the bigger world championships.
yeah, I mean, if you win the Florida draw for the Jack, there's a lot of contests, a lot of people going for that Florida draw for the Jack with the FBAs and KCBS contest stuff in there. That's a lot in there.
Yeah.
So Matt, you wasn't at the Royal this year. I didn't see you at the Royal this year. You didn't make it there this year.
No, I forgot what happened. If it was work or no, it was a hurricane. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was a hurricane, wasn't it?
So, I think it was a hurricane then, and then there was a hurricane for the Kansas KCBS championship too. So
there was, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just missed those, and I hated it. Whenever you miss a big contest like that, you're like, mate, I hope that wasn't the year. That was my shot.
Right.
You have to be so lucky. I mean, you still have to cook good, but you have to be lucky and hit
Oh, definitely.
the right things. And it's like, man, I hope that wasn't the year I was supposed to go and win it. But I'm looking forward to doing. I don't know if I'm going to do that many more, but I kind of want to pick and choose, and I want to do some more Europe stuff, and definitely miss going to the Royal this year for sure.
Yeah, we were at the Royal and we had a blast. Everybody up there, we had a great time. You get to see people we don't see all the time and hang out, especially for was it Wednesday night or Thursday night? When did we have to get the really big party out there? It was a Thursday night, wasn't it, Robert Lex?
I don't recall any of that, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he keeps saying that he went to bed at 7:30.
I went to bed at 7. I don't know who. There was a guy out there that looked like me, I heard, but I don't know who that was.
You lost your keys and your phone.
I don't know who that guy was.
Yeah, that was definitely some stories to hear and be told from there. But we had a blast. I mean, and that's the thing about it here is just that the barbecue family is just. I mean, you're talking about y'all in Smoke Central this year, and talking about Trey and them kind of won the GBC last year, and Matt's talking about them, and then Backyard Bros and stuff here. We want everybody else to do good. We want to win also, but the family I have here is insane. Oh
yeah.
And I've asked this question a few times in the past here, but what would y'all say has been y'all's most surprising thing that you've learned in competition barbecue that you would not have expected it going into that to be? What would be kind of like something that really just blew your mind?
That's a good question.
I think to anybody that's new to barbecue, whether they're going to be a cook or whether they're just a spectator, I think the one thing that blows everybody's mind is everything that goes into it.
Yeah.
We talked about some of it now, like scraping the chicken skin. I mean, it's just nuts, the process involved in developing a competition box, right? I think that's the same among all the sanctioning bodies, I would assume. We've done some GBA contests, and even with that, I mean, that's a lot different than KCBS in a lot of ways. And man, the things you got to do to turn in a winning box, that blows my mind.
It does. I mean, I've had a judge cook with me a couple of times, judges, and they look at me and be like, you do all this to turn in that for a box? For people I don't know, I'll never meet.
Yeah.
And I hope y'all give me a good score. I mean, the detail we go into for that, especially pork.
And they're not usually there to see what we do leading up to even getting there.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I've had a couple with me in the past and went through there and trained the meat in front of them, injecting the meat and season it and cook the whole process, and then going through it. And I go through all this pork to get whatever I'm putting in that box that day, and then pray it's good. And I'm like, hey, you done all of that just for this? I said, yeah. And this is pork. Pork's the most annoying one. I think KCBS should change it and pork turn-ins first. I think pork turn-in needs to be first.
You want everybody to fall behind at the beginning? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. And then we got a race at the end of it because, I mean, it doesn't matter how much you do ahead of time. Pork is going to kill it. I mean, it's the most annoying thing in the world because you sit there, you're like, all right, today I'm just putting money muscles in the box. Wait a minute, these tubes are really good. This bacon's really good. This pull's good. I'm going to put all of it in the box. Then by the time you get through, you look at the clock, you're like, crap, I got 2 minutes to go.
Yeah.
But
and then you come back, you're like, oh crap, there was that perfect money muscle I left on the camera. I didn't have, I forgot I had that. I break up again.
Yeah, but
Just
you good.
But yeah, pork is tough. There's no time. There's just no time.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Pork's that. So Brian's asking the question: would you rather chase points or majors? He's talking to Matt. chase the points, or go after major contests?
For KCBS, I'd never have time to chase points. I would love to win the Royal and the Jack. Those are definitely the bucket list contests to win, but I'd probably chase contests. And then, I just don't have the time to hit 30 plus contests a year anymore. So I'll just pick and choose the contest.
Robert, Lex, how about y'all? Going forward, I know you've done it this year, but
majors.
Go for the majors.
Yeah, I mean, once you start out the year, if you're hitting like we were right from the bat, you're sort of shoot. I guess we got to keep on trying to keep it going, right?
Yeah.
And hoping it does.
You talked out to Uncle Pig. He won 3 in a row, and he's like, I got to chase this thing now. So he did, and look where he ended up. But I think because we were talking earlier this year. It's funny that this question's coming up. We were talking earlier this year about that, and I was saying something about getting brisket points or something like that, because that's what we needed. That's what we want. We wanted to get number 1 in brisket. We were earlier in the year, and then we kind of lost it. But he was just like, no, I'm not gonna not go to the Royal. I'm not gonna not go to the Jack. I'm not gonna not go to the KCBS Invitational because these other contests are going on. I want to win a major, and I think that is more important
for us. Yeah,
for us.
For other people, like obviously Urkel with Uncle Pig. He decided I'm chasing points, and that's what he did.
Yeah,
and he won it. So congratulations to him. He's a good guy.
He is.
But I was like, I definitely want to go to the Royal, even though the odds are
astronomical.
Yeah,
for us.
But that's my dream, is to win a major. That's something we've never done. So that would be great.
Team of the year would be great too. We'll chase points if we're doing well, but I think the major's where it's at for us.
Yeah, I think we've been cooking long enough. We're going to start just doing contests we want to do and chase trophies.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where we're going to probably just look at it for.
I like a banjo.
I do too.
Banjo would be nice, like me.
Hey,
and I asked if chasing points is even realistic nowadays for us, because I think we have less contests that are close to us. Like Alabama used to have like 6 or 7 contests. We're lucky we have 3 right now. We have to drive a lot farther, and I don't know if we have the funds and the time to do that every year.
And whether our day jobs will let us do it.
Yeah.
That's a bigger thing.
And that's what we were talking about before the show here. Last couple of years with the Rufus Teague series and stuff we've been putting on. We done 30-some contests last year, but most of our contests were within 6 hours of where we're at. Trading me a gun for a banjo? No, I don't think so. I like a banjo. Sorry, Philip's texting right here. You got too many of them guns. You can just give them away, Philip. I only got 1 banjo. But we were able to kind of go do contests, and everybody was here competing in contests, but we had doubles, and we had all within 6 hours of it. So we were able to do it. Now, the reality of it is it's the same crew every weekend, every out, which is great. We get to hang out and meet people and stuff. But I think Child said it best. It's like getting in a boxing match in a phone booth. Every weekend, it's the same guys. It's going head to head to head to head.
Yep.
And everybody's getting better. And it's all of a sudden you just hope you don't screw up. And we were able to do that last year. This year, I don't know as far as with us, with the flavors, if something changed or if we just fell off the wagon, but it was just kind of I know I was talking to some different judges. From what I understand from some different judges and stuff, what they're telling me is we've had COVID for the past couple of years. So we had a bunch of judges that didn't come out and judge because they're worried about COVID. This year, we've had kind of COVID's kind of taking the second seat. It's kind of falling in the back seat. And so judges now are coming back out and judging more. And the judges that were judging the last couple of years are not coming out and judging because the fuel prices are up. So it's kind of like I think this year has been a transition year throughout the entire year. And kind of what people I'm talking to, different judges I'm talking to, as far as they're seeing new people. And I think that's kind of what's been causing a little bit of a head scratcher on for me at least. But after this past weekend, I probably need to reevaluate a lot of stuff with food. But anyhow.
Well, I think too, COVID's affected a lot of the judges' taste buds as well. I mean, it's like, especially down here, before pre-COVID, it was bland chicken wins. I mean, if it was just tender, just everything was even and balanced, nothing stood out, then that would be, you'd get a call. It was just bland chicken wins. And then now it's like salty, spicy chicken wings. I think sometimes, and I think that last year, the Texas teams were on fire, and I think a little bit smokier of a profile was winning because it was just stronger. Because I think some of the taste buds kind of got out of whack from people. If you had COVID, they never got it fully back yet. And I think the tenderness has changed. The tenderness has definitely changed on chicken. I mean, it used to be you could cook it to 158, 160. Now it's cooking to like 205, or it's like chicken and dumpling chicken. I don't think flavors changed. I think just the amount of the things, because I haven't changed my sauces or rubs since probably 2012. But the amount, how much I dilute my pork sauce with the au jus, how much I hit with the finishing rub, or what temp I take it to has changed. But the profiles are still there, but it is kind of a guessing match and that's one thing you have to cook a bunch of to kind of see if you cook. If you get hammered in a category 3 times in a row, then you can change. But if you're cooking 6 contests a year, it's kind of hard to do that. If you're cooking 30, then you can make those mods throughout the year and still end up doing well. But it definitely kind of goes in waves. Ribs are super overcooked now. I see them getting a little bit tighter, but it's hard to follow those little nuances when you're not cooking 30, 40 contests a year.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
It's funny you say that about the ribs, about them wanting it tighter. We're seeing the same thing. I mean, several years ago when we used to cook those fatty comp parts, and I still love those, but all that fat in there, they're like a burnt end, right? It made them nice and soft, like a soft bite. And I still love that, but I noticed the judges have won them a little bit tighter lately. They don't like that soft bite anymore.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, this is my second best, so that's going to go in the box.
That's
so and I did that with pork last week. I'm like, this money muscle just felt really firm, but it was the biggest one I had, and it was the last one I cut. Actually, I sliced the others and sauce them and set them in the cooker to heat them back up. And I just sliced that one a little bit thinner, and I'm like, it's actually pretty nice. And I just barely sauced it and put it in the box, and I think I got third. But it was it's just weird how those things change, And I think a lot of new cooks, it's easier in their head to change the sauce and the rub than it is to cook it right.
Yeah.
So, a lot of new cooks kind of get frustrated and say, "Oh, it's this or that," and the reality is they haven't cooked it right, but I think they tend to change the wrong things or focus on the wrong things. So.
Exactly. And you see it all the time because a lot of times they key in on appearance first, right?
Yes.
They'll say, does it look good? I'm like, that really, it matters, but it doesn't really. It's not the most important thing.
Yeah. But it'll make, if it looks horrendous, they won't get a 9 on,
No.
Even if it tastes great.
We've had ribs that have actually done very well, and they look like pirates' teeth. They had broken bones on the bottom, and they're just like that. But they did well.
Yeah.
We might not have gotten all 9s in appearance, but I'd rather get the taste and the tenderness scores.
Yeah, I mean, my ribs a couple of weeks ago were black as all get out on the bottom. It wasn't burnt, but it was just, they were so dark. I'm like, I was sitting next to another team, how are your ribs? I'm like, and they were burnt. He's like, and I think I got second place ribs.
Yeah,
He's like,
that's
burnt.
usually the way it happens.
Of course.
I'm like, they were, I swear.
Got a question here about the J Cup. I think the J Cup is helping as a whole for judging. I think it's helping them kind of understand the nuances of judging the food. But I think going back to what Matt and what Robert was saying earlier is that if you do a lot of contests and you can try and tweak your profile to be consistent, then you can truly see how the J Cup can help you can work your flavor for that judges and start working on that. If you do just a few contests a year, then you're kind of like almost kind of like blind man throwing at a dartboard. It's you know where the dartboard's at, but you got to be able to hit it. So I think consistency is going to go into it. I think on being critical about KCBS right now, I would say my biggest pet peeve for KCBS would be the seating program. I wish they would bring it back personally. I like what it done before as far as having a computer program that says, all right, averages is averaged. We may have an outlier here or whatever, but if you show me okay on paper, on computer, it's right here. It's telling me that it's all averaged out. Then now it's up to my job to do my job at table. But I feel like if they had the seating program with the J Cup information they're putting out there, they had time for all that to meld together, it would be insane how accurately and how well it could be. But I think right now by doing the J Cup without the seating program, we're actually not able to see how beneficial this could be for KCBS as a whole. Now, that's an opinion. Absolutely no facts behind that. And maybe nobody agrees with me. But yeah, I get to say it.
What's the J Cup for an FBA guy?
That's like
been out of the
remedial, well, it's not
It's like
remedial
follow-on
training, but
training,
it's follow-on training for the judges for KCBS.
Okay.
It's an online course.
Okay.
We're judges,
Okay.
but we haven't done the J Cup judging yet. And I really want to go in there and see it because I've heard from judges that we know that, have cooked with us or whatever, but, they've said that the J Cup judging or the J Cup course is really, really good.
Okay. Super.
What it does is on some of it, and just use ribs for example. What it does, if you ever seen people judge contests, you ever organize contests, you'll see certain people go in there and they'll bite ribs from every which direction, except how as a cook, I want you to bite ribs.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they teaching at J Cup is you actually take ribs, you bite it in the middle where you get both sides of it. You don't bite the end of it and then put it in a goodie bag. You bite it in the middle. That's what the focus of it is. And that's kind of what the J Cup is teaching in there as far as this is how you slice a rib. I mean, brisket, you get it out in the middle of it. You do pork, you get it out in the middle of it, so on and so forth. And I think that's one of the benefits to being able to come out there and do that, because if I turn you something into judge, I want you to take exactly the best part of it and give me a best score I can get, and don't take the piece that's going minimum amount that's going to be not give me the best score. And I think that's kind of was the argument with the J Cup. Would y'all agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I know, like,
go ahead.
so well, like down here in the FBA, down in the FBA, we got to fill the box. So tubes were always huge. So whenever I would turn a tube in outside of the state, I'd put, like a 3-inch long, nice tender tube, and I would always get a screaming comment because they'd pull it apart like cream cheese or something, So, so whenever I turned them in the KCBS, I'd just be tiny bite-sized little, like, burning type tube sizes. Because a lot of it was just how they would eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would affect my score,
Lex, you were saying something?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you can have all this training, but I mean, you have the J Cup, but you still have the new judges that aren't getting trained the same way across the board. We were trained to start at a 9 and work your way down. I know judges, like, not even a year after that, were told to go by, whatever it says next to the number. So, I mean, that's still an issue that they need to fix, but I mean, it's always going to be there. There's always going to be people, even with the J Cup, if they go through the J Cup training, they're still going to judge the way they want to judge.
But I think the J Cup's going to help though
It
bring
will.
judges back to that sort of center, right?
Yeah.
Where we want them to be, or where KCBS wants them to be. Those people that sort of stray away from those standards. That's why, I mean, any job you're in, any kind of refresher training that you do on the job, that's going to help you. Oh crap, yeah, I sort of got away from that. I need to get back.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with judging.
It is. I know we done that judging class we had a couple of years ago down in Aiken, where we had basically a frost buster. We had a bunch of teams come out there and we cooked food. We had some master judges come out there and give us feedback to that same food. We give it to KCBS to have a judges class on, and the judges are in there taking the class. They're actually getting competition worthy food to get to learn how to judge food. And now we've got a bunch of those people was in that class. Some of them's actually cooking contests now, and some of us come out there and is actually judging a lot of contests. And I think it's been beneficial for as a whole. And I'd love the feedback to it. And I think that's where it's at. But again, this is just an opinion. Again, it's not necessarily say this is law. And there's one thing that's very much the truth. There's no perfect way to have this system, because we want it to be a blind system. We want it to be something other where it's not a rigged system. So therefore, we're serving food, and it's all relative. What I think's good, what Matt thinks good, and what Robert and Lex thinks good may not be the same thing. But at the end of the day, we're still doing this crazy game.
Yeah, yes. Well, I think a lot of people expect these judges to be food experts, and that's not what they are, right? They see Food Network and they got these judges on there, and that's what they expect them to be. And that's not the case, and that's not realistic, right? To have something like that, you need a whole lot more infusion of funds to make something like that happen, and that's just not what this is.
They are. And what he's talking about right here, Brian just made a comment, and I've said this many, many times. And then again, I would not necessarily pick on judges here, but this is a 3-part process right here. Number one, we need to have a location. We got to have a location that's going to allow us to have contests there. We got to have, number 2, cooks come out and cook the food. Number 3, we got to have judges. Any one parts of that system don't happen, we're not having contests. And I've been involved in putting together way too many contests over years to understand how critical all 3 parts are.
No, definitely.
Absolutely.
And when I sell this, with anybody that comes out there and wants to be part of putting on contests, go for it. I'll help you any way I can. But for people to come out and do contests right now and expect to be able to pay these high amount money out for prize pots, those people have never put on a contest, because the amount of work it takes to have a $7,000, a $10,000 prize pot for a contest, it doesn't make sense to have barbecue competition. I'm raising money for a charity. I'm raising money for a charity. If we put money for have barbecue contest, we put money to have barbecue competition. Now we get public out and everything else, but when you start putting together contests, you'll really truly understand what it takes on to put a contest, and you'll come back humbled. And I know we're totally getting off subject with that, but that was the whole thing about it, is that we need them 3 parts, like they're saying in there. So I'm not necessarily saying the judge's fault.
No.
My food this weekend didn't deserve to win, so therefore I didn't win the contest. And that's a fact. Especially the ribs on Friday night. That was complete farce. But anyhow, it is hard to figure out what judges want. But what you also got to think about here, as far as talking about this judges here, you have to understand that there's 6 or 7 samples going to the table. Okay. You don't know where you land on that table as far as what order it was judged. If you follow somebody and they messed up and they've got it way too spicy, and you're following that sample in there, your flavor profile is not going to score right. It's not, because it's already, that flavor ahead of you has changed that situation. It's not the judge's fault. It's not nobody's fault. It's just that something other went in there that changed the flavor profile at that table. So that is kind of where we look at it. You need to take that into consideration, because when you start getting the scorecards, and we were saying this earlier, go by the rule of 3. If you get the same comment card, unknown flavor at 3 different contests, then you need to figure out, okay, this unknown flavor is affecting my score. Would y'all agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So I mean, that's kind of where you're looking at it. So take that with a grain of salt. But if you getting the same thing on 2 or 3 contests, then that's what I would say is something to be involved with. This is a comment I was talking about on that. So y'all are cooking in the Alabama. What's the Acropolis? Is that
Demopolis.
right?
Christmas on the river. Yep.
Christmas on the river. Yep. In Demopolis, Alabama.
And they're looking for teams. Just
Yep.
FYI.
They are looking for a team. That's seen that online today.
Yeah, they're very close to 25, but I think they're just under that. So they got a bunch of calls in that said, we'll sign up when you hit 25. I think it was like 5 or 6 teams. I'm like, well, you signed up, we'd have more than 25. So I'm like, you can't win.
Yeah.
No, you can't win with that. Matt, about you?
Sorry, I popped out. I lost my Bluetooth.
Oh, I lost my headphones earlier too.
Yeah.
But
What was the question?
when is your next contest?
Oh, the beginning of January. I think it's up in Jacksonville. I think it's the Jimmy Jam Barbecue
Okay.
Slam. So,
Jimmy Jam Barbecue
we'll
Slam.
be up there.
Cool. Well, listen, I know it's about an hour. I know we got some bedtimes to get ready to go. Do y'all want to plug in your any sponsors y'all got, sponsorships?
Oh, yeah. Well, for us,
Yeah.
of course, the Atlanta Barbecue Store, and then Compart Family Farms have been our main sponsors for a few years now. So
yeah.
we're thankful for that because they make it sort of more affordable for us to, especially chase points if that's what we're doing.
Yeah, it's
Compact
good to have
probably
some.
the best pork on the planet. So, in Atlanta Barbecue Store, they carry everything you would want for competition. So,
They do. I totally agree with that. I suggest them in all YouTube videos and stuff here. Great group of people. Got a great store. They got everything you need. Even got hot Wachula stuff in them. Don't they?
I think they do.
Matt, got any other sponsors you want to bring up besides hot Wachula?
Yeah. Well, of course, the butcher shop where I get the A9 briskets from. I get my Prairie Fresh pork from Master Purveyors over in Tampa. Of course, Rec Tech. They're one of the best pellet cookers around. So those would be the 3. So definitely happy to have some support out there. It definitely does make things easier. Hot Wachula does foot a lot of the bill, but it's thankful for them too. Thankful for the write-offs.
Yeah, it's great. Again, our sponsors, Royal Oak, Rec Tech, Atlanta Barbecue Store. Again, it's a great group. If you want anything relating to your barbecue for cooking at home or cooking competition circuit, Atlanta Barbecue Store's got it. Rec Tech Smokers is also, use them on cooking competitions and most of my YouTube channel stuff. Great smokers. So I suggest that to anybody. Again, I want to say happy Thanksgiving, y'all. I appreciate y'all coming out for the show. I appreciate y'all tuning in and watching us here. I want y'all to have a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. Watch some football and enjoy it.
happy
And great talking to you.